All right, welcome to another episode of The American Dream, a bipartisan show, the only one of its kind that goes against the grain of that negative stuff you see in the media. We got a great show lined up for you today. What you're going to see is a compilation of national interviews with my co-hosts and myself, but also we integrate in local market advice from the best professionals in your own backyard. You're going to love today's show. We're talking a lot about real estate today, and we encourage you not just to watch the show, but engage with us on social media. That being said, let's start the show right now. Every single day, you are consumed with information. With the 24/7 negative news cycle and a pop culture that's polluting the airwaves, all selling out for the ratings game. Well, guess what? There's a more positive way to look at life. You live in the greatest city in the greatest country on the planet. Every day with our elite network of professionals, our goal is to educate, empower, and engage. And now it's time to fight for your American dream. Now for the word on the American Dream, of course, always coming at you unscripted here and authentic. On this show, you probably checked it out. You see we talk a lot about the national real estate market. However, we also integrate in the best professionals of the local marketplace to give you information about your own backyard. Now, these are people that I have flown across the country to meet personally. So when we endorse them and bring them on our show, I want you to know how truly talented they are. So about this real estate topic, we're going to talk about things like equity and tax advantages and interest rate. That's what you think about when you hear real estate. However, we got to remember something else. It's not just real estate, it's a home. My parents still live in the house I was raised in. It's a place that you're going to raise your family, build memories, build community. So it has such an important ripple effect, not only on the economy, but society. And so today we're going to really focus on the real estate market and home ownership. Hope you enjoy today's show. Let's start the interviews now.
Join our fight against the negative media. Engage in the conversation online.
All right, joining us on The American Dream also, I understand we're doing a Facebook Live as well. This guy has a ton of passion, author, speaker, CEO of Cardone Capital, the Grant Cardone, to talk about The American Dream. Grant, good to have you on the show.
Dude, I am an expert on the American dream.
Yeah, well, some people say it's dead.
Well, I think it is dead for a lot of people because a lot of people quit dreaming. I mean, to dream, you got to dream. So that means you got to work. And unfortunately, a lot of people think somebody else is going to make this thing happen when it's not going to happen. And this has been true for 200 years here. The dream here was made to happen by people that left a nightmare, came across the pond and said, I'm going to make a dream now because I'm free.
You know, you make a good point. There's a lot of political arguments about immigration and the wall, but the one thing that we should all be able to agree to is that millions of people want into this country, not out of it. So I think that's a statement in itself, not to mention we have a military that's willing to die for your freedoms. You get paid on retirement, veterans, disability, unemployed. So this country takes very good care of you in every shape or form, and the opportunity, I believe, is there. But you got to dream big, and it's okay to be biased about dreaming about the country that you live in, just like it's okay to be biased that you have the greatest mom. So what's the American dream mean to you?
Well, for me, it means I have the freedom to do what I want, think as big as I want, and go as big as I want. Nobody's going to arrest me for doing that. Like, I think the only people that take America for granted are the people that actually live here.
True.
Everybody that comes here, you come here from Argentina, Venezuela. I'm in Miami today, so I got a lot of people that came here from South America, a lot of people that came here from Russia that work with us. They're like, hey, man, this is a dream, bro. Protect it, secure it. They don't have a problem with walls because they're inside now, and they're like, hey, wall, no wall. I want to be here. I love being here. Now I need to focus on the opportunity, not the politics. And the politics are always there to distract people. But the reality is, what are you going to do with the opportunity you have here, whether it's 20 years, 30 years, 50 years? And there's a lot of people wasting time here, not taking advantage of those moments to really turn this into an unbelievable life for themselves.
You got a big event coming up. Tell us about it.
9,000 people showing up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and all of them are there to 10X their dreams. It's called the 10X Growth Conference. They're there to 10X their businesses, 10X their lives. The business and entrepreneur owners that we speak there are people that are looking for freedom. They're building businesses because they want freedom in their life, regardless of the country they live in.
Who are some of the speakers that you have?
Oh my gosh, we had 20. Well, first of all, I'm gonna be speaking every day, so that by itself makes it worth the investment. My wife's gonna be speaking there. A guy named Ed Milet. He's got a network of 50,000 people. WFG, one of the larger companies in the world. We have a group coming in that the guy did $4 billion in advertising sales last year. Man, the name's just like crazy. Ty Lopez is gonna be there. Built, 10 million, 12 million people online. So we got retail business owners there, online business owners there, and everybody there is going to be talking about 10x your business. 9,000
people there to pursue their American dream. Awesome, man. Well, good for you. You're doing a lot in the real estate space now. So I think a lot of times when people hear the American dream, they make that reference of owning a piece of land. What are you doing with real estate? What are you doing with real estate investing?
Well, Louis Glickman said that the best investment in Earth is Earth itself. And what we're doing is we basically, somebody just threw my plane in.
Yeah, I picked up on the airplane that just flew in on your desk, man.
Dude, the plane's for sale, by the way. I'm selling the plane. I mean, this goes to show you how real the American dream is, okay? Real estate, I own 5,000 apartments today. Real estate, I started buying real estate in San Diego 25 years ago. Real estate is the ultimate vehicle for people to create financial freedom for themselves. And so while everybody's all excited about Bitcoin right now, the truth is a majority of wealth in this country is invested at some point in income producing real estate. Whether your business produces income or your real estate produces income, if you can somehow, without going back to college, accumulate enough real estate that pays you income, you're going to have financial freedom. So that's what we do at Cardone Capital. We buy very large deals. These are $50 to $100 million apartment complexes and our office that produces income day one. And our investors and myself get to participate in passive income while we wait for the appreciation over long periods of time.
All right, make sure you connect with Grant, learn about his upcoming conference he has going on, the books he's selling. The guy has so much going on. You can find him online. Truly an inspiration of the American dream. Always good to have him on the show. More coming up next.
Are you interested in real estate, business, entrepreneurship, or finance? Then check us out online and be sure to follow us on social media.
All right, welcome back to the American Dream. Imagine building a company that was bought by Google. Our next guest, Brett Crosby, the co-founder and COO of PeerStreet, did exactly that. Now he's going to come on the show and talk about the secondary market of real estate. Brett, thanks for coming on the show.
Great to be here, Craig. Thanks for having me.
So real quick, for those who don't know, share your background.
Yeah, so I'm co-founder and COO of PeerStreet right now. Before this, I was at Google for about 10 years. And the way I got to Google is I started a company down there in San Diego called Urchin Software Corporation. It was very early in the web analytics space. We built that up. Google acquired us in 2005. And we moved to Google Corporate and launched Google Analytics. So that Urchin was the predecessor to Google Analytics, and then stayed on at Google for 10 years doing a number of things.
How'd you like Google?
This business now. Oh, Google's fantastic. It was such a great place to work. And in fact, I've taken a lot of the cultural tips that I learned there and a lot of the lessons and applied them to this business, PeerStreet.
So tell us a little bit about PeerStreet. Now, what you guys do is you're basically a platform investing in real estate-backed loans, correct?
That's correct.
So explain what that means to those who don't know.
Sure. So a lot of people know they can invest in real estate, but they don't know that they can actually invest in the debt side or the mortgage side of real estate. And the reason for that is that it wasn't readily available to most people until now. Basically, what my co-founder and I saw is an asset class that we thought was this great asset class. First position liens on real estate that most people just had no access to. And we thought if we built a platform that was a secondary market for lenders and an investment platform for investors, we could connect the two and create something really special. And that's what we've done.
How safe of an investment is this? I think a lot of people, when they think about real estate investing in the secondary market and the product of loans, you can't help but think about 2008 and subprime. What confidence do you have in that market? Is it a safe investment? What are the risks?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, any investment is going to have some sort of risk, right? But 2008 is always on our minds. One of our investors is Michael Burry. He was played by Christian Bale in The Big Short. And so we are always thinking about the downside risk. We've done over $700 million in investments through the platform now over the past few years. Every single loan that comes on the platform, we stress test. And because of all that stress test and underwriting and going through all of it to make sure that it's something we want to bring on the platform, we've had zero losses. Nobody's lost a single dollar investing on the platform.
Well, certainly a very different world now than it was in 2008. Interesting that you referenced The Big Short. There's a great movie that illustrates. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that. Of course, on a show called The American Dream, we got to ask you, how does this empower communities? How does this empower the American dream?
You know, I'm a big believer in the American dream. I'm living the American dream. And by the way, I love what you're doing here with the show, the whole thing. And so, look, everyone out there, first of all, if you have a little bit of money to invest, it's harder and harder to get yield on that investment. So to make money passively. Real estate debt is a great place to do that. These are all first position liens on real estate, and it's backed by the underlying real estate. So if the borrower stops paying, we can foreclose on it. And we've had to do that in a few cases, but investors still made all of their principal back.
Well, it's a lot safer in an appreciating housing market versus subprime when everything was crashing. Those foreclosures turned into a lot of losses, I would imagine. Real quick, since I got you here, what do you think of the future of housing? How do you think it turns out in 2018?
In 2018, I think the future of housing is going to continue to grow. I think it's look, the age of the U.S. housing stock is as old as it's ever been. The average house is over 40 years old in the United States. When people go in and fix those houses, which is what our borrowers typically do, they buy houses that are kind of the crummy ones on your block. They'll fix them up and then sell them to new owners. That's a very important part of the cycle, and it really helps build the American dream for everyone. So we're big believers in the future of it, as long as you do things safely, and that's what we're here trying to do.
Bullish on housing. Brett, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Greg.
All right, more of The American Dream coming up next.
Hi, I'm Jenn Morris, co-host of The American Dream. Don't forget, you can always watch more of our content online and follow us along on social media.
Well, as you know, The American Dream is a national program where we focus on business, the entrepreneurial spirit, overcoming adversity, finance, the market, all things that are relevant to empowering your American dream. But a big topic of conversation on this show is housing. So what we do is we integrate local, top-producing, award-winning realtors to cover a wide range of topics on that subject, different micro markets, different niche subject matter. Housing is such a big topic, so we're going to bring you a lot of information right now from some of the best in your market. Let's check out these interviews.
All right, next up on the show, we are talking with an educator, a partner, and a realtor specializing in residential real estate with Gibson, Sotheby's International Realty, Dino Confalone, and joining him today is his special guest, Arielle Cecala. She's an attorney with Crowley and Cummings. Thank you both so much for being on The American Dream today.
Hey, Jen. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Dino. It's so great to have you here, Arielle. Dino, I want to start with you, though, first. Who are the key players involved in your clients' typical real estate transactions?
So a typical transaction includes a good realtor, a good lender, and a good attorney. And Arielle is my go-to attorney, preferred attorney. I do think it's an important relationship to have between the team, to have everyone, make sure everyone's synced up and know each other, and kind of just we're able to actually come to a completion.
Absolutely. Arielle, doesn't the buyer need their own individual attorney? How can the attorney represent both the buyer and the lender then simultaneously? Is that a conflict of interest?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and a question that we come across a lot. Residential real estate conveyancing is one of the few areas where you can actually have the attorney simultaneously represent the buyer and the lender without there being a conflict of interest present. When the attorney represents the lender, they will do an examination of the title and oversee payment of taxes and other liens on the property. And of course, the buyer benefits from that as well. That's critical to their representation. And then for the buyer has an additional level of representation by way of the attorney in negotiating the purchase and sale agreement and making sure that their deposit is protected throughout the transaction all the way to closing. In Massachusetts, a lot of our deposits can be $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So if you don't have an attorney who's looking out just for your interests to make sure that that deposit is going to actually be applied to your purchase and not be taken by the seller, it's really important to have that buyer have that protection.
Dino, is there a disadvantage to simultaneous representation?
No, but it's extremely important to have someone that is in sync with everyone else, and it makes the process so much smoother.
And actually, it's even cost effective for the buyer, because in a traditional situation, if the buyer didn't have their own personal representation, the buyer would pay for the lender to have their own attorney. And that comes out of the buyer's closing costs. But in the instance where you have one attorney who's representing both the buyer and the lender, those closing costs go to pay my fee, for example. So the buyer isn't actually paying for two lawyers, two sets of fees. So there's a real cost savings there in an otherwise very expensive process.
So it's actually advantageous.
Absolutely.
Dino, do you agree with Arielle? I'm sure you do, but do you explain that to your clients?
I try to. You know, there's definitely a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to attorneys and how their role is. In Massachusetts, you know, it is pretty much required that an attorney needs to go through the transaction. And, you know, there's definitely a consumer protection focus in Massachusetts when it comes to buyer beware. But I think, you know, a good broker, a good lender, and attorney all together as a team can actually explain to a buyer the whole, you know, how everyone's role in each transaction, and what it's in their best interest to have that team that is all on the same page.
Sure, of course. Dino, I want to switch gears a little bit with you and talk to you about a really unique listing that you have. Tell us a little bit about this property.
So I just presented to the market 69 Harvey Street, Unit 3 in Cambridge. It's a 2,300 square foot loft in an old French schoolhouse. It was actually originally the gym. So there's 11-foot ceilings. It's absolutely amazing. We had our broker open house today, and we probably had about 60 people come through.
Wow.
So exposed brick, you know, I mean, the place is just amazing. I can't wait to see what happens. And it's on the Minuteman bike path that actually goes from Somerville all the way out to Lexington.
Fabulous. And when the weather gets a little warmer, you can go bike that, right?
Yes, yes. And so it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's listed at $679.
Perfect. Well, Arielle, Dino, thank you so much for being on The American Dream today. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for
Jen.
having us.
And if you have any other questions, reach out to us online, AmericanDreamNetwork.tv, or follow us along on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And we will be right back with more of the show.
Hello, American Dream. My name is Aidas Kupcinskas with Signal Real Estate. I'm here in one of Greater Boston's hottest real estate markets, my hometown, Milton, Massachusetts. So what is it about Milton that makes it so special? Why do people want to move here? There's quite a few reasons, but a couple of which I'd like to highlight are proximity to Boston. Right behind me is the city skyline. It's less than 10 miles down the road. It's got public transportation, makes an easy commute in the mornings or on the weekend if you want to hop in a ride share and enjoy some of the world-class shopping and restaurants downtown Boston has to offer. You can do that. Plus, little factoid, George H.W. Bush was born right across the street. Pretty cool, right? Next up is the schools. Not only is Milton home to such prestigious institutions such as Milton Academy and Fontbonne Academy, but the public schools are always some of the top rated in the state. Milton also has a French immersion program that starts in grade 1 and goes through grade 12, which also helps set it apart from the rest. And lastly, how can I go without mentioning the amount of green space and recreational options this town has to offer? I'm here at the top of Blue Hills at the Weather Observatory. There's tons of hiking trails to get up here for various skill levels, including dogs. And here at the base of Blue Hills is the Trailside Museum. It's a natural history museum which features outdoor wildlife exhibits. Then you've got the Blue Hills ski area. You've got a ski slope in your backyard and you're downtown in 10 minutes. What's cooler than that? And if you like ice skating, you've got several outdoor options like here at Cunningham Park. Or if you prefer skating indoors, you've got the Ullin Rink across town. If you like to swim, Cunningham Park also offers a gigantic outdoor swimming pool or you could join a place like the Shamrock Swim Club if you prefer to swim indoors. You've also got the Town Wharf and the Riverwalk. And Milton prides itself on being a bicycle-friendly community. There are amazing roads and trails all over town to be enjoyed on a bike. You could even join the Blue Hills Cycling Club. I did. These are just a few of the things that make Milton a great place to live. I think if you enjoy small town living, but like being down the street from a big city like Boston, if you're raising a family or planning to do so, and you enjoy the outdoors, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better town than Milton, Mass. to call home. This is Aidas Kupcinskas with Signal Real Estate, signing off. Till next time.
Welcome back to The American Dream. My next guest is no stranger on this show. It is none other than Arthur Deych, broker-owner of Red Tree Real Estate. Arthur, thank you so much for being back on.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, Arthur. I always love talking to you. I want to start our conversation today by focusing in on the market trends that are happening this year. We're newly into 2018. What are the trends that you see happening?
Well, it's early, but people have started getting into the whole scope of looking at homes early, too. What I've been noticing for homeowners or buyers is open houses are packed. They're jammed. So the more people at open houses equals more intimidation. But that should not stop anyone from making an offer if they like a home. What happens is you get intimidated, and that's an emotion, but you should be making an educational decision when offering on a home. So in terms of making your offer, just go with your gut and don't be fooled by how many people are at the open house. Sometimes they're just there checking it out. Sometimes they're neighbors, and sometimes they're just not ready to pull the trigger. You know, for investors, on the other hand, MLS, Trulia, Zillow, Redfin, all these things are more likely not as sexy to an investor anymore because they're looking on Craigslist, they're knocking on doors, they're trying to find these secret properties that not everyone knows about. They try to find these brokers such as myself who find niches in this investment market so they don't have to go against the local investor and foreign investor.
That's some really good information. So you're saying that a mainstream property that's having a traditional open house typically isn't pulling in the investors that are going to be putting in those all-cash offers and then just kick you out of the running.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that there's nothing good on the market, but typically if an investor is a seasoned person, they're going to be more inclined to be jaded and not go after a property that every single person and their mother knows about.
Well, we know the importance of finding a realtor that we can trust to help us through this process. How do you suggest someone goes about doing that? Do you subscribe to the interview process? Do you say, you know what, just sit down and have a cup of coffee with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the world's greatest realtor could be your worst nightmare if you don't, click with each other. So at that time, having a cup of coffee or having something like that happen where you just sit down and, one person speaking to another, see if you can engage well. Another way is to vet your broker. If the last 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 transactions aren't something that you have yourself been looking for, like, for instance, if they're selling single families in the South Shore and you want them to sell your 3-family in Brookline, they might not have the best thumbprint on the market.
Well, talking about the market, I don't want to let you go today without talking about the hot neighborhoods in your local market this year. Tell me about some of those. I know you have a few that you wanted to mention. Yeah,
so it's so funny. It's so difficult to put something as a hot market because things make hot markets, such as school districts, such as land, such as taxes, such as if something like Amazon was coming into town. But a couple of markets that are strictly for an investor, excellent cash flow markets and great on return on investment are going to be in the North Shore. I'm going to talk about Revere and Malden, great cash flow and still dollar for dollar value that you can afford. In the South Shore, Weymouth is an excellent place that a lot of people are looking into and buying something on the newer side that needs less work. In the city, West Roxbury is money, guys. Every single person who did the developments in Chestnut Hill where they have all the stores has encouraged more people to move into that area, creating higher incomes and more rent per capita. And then in terms of my secret spot, we have a little pocket of the city called Lower Alston. Lower Alston is really cool because it sits between BU and Harvard University. And what it used to, and I call this the ass to elbow syndrome. At one point, it was at the butt of the city. It wasn't the prettiest part of town. As soon as Harvard University started digging into this neighborhood, putting infrastructure, fixing the streets, all of a sudden it turned into the elbow of the neighborhood, becoming more hip, bringing in Trader Joe's, bringing in bars and nightlife and breweries. So it is definitely going to be in the next 5 years one of the hottest places to live in Boston.
Great tips. Thank you so much for giving us some of your secret information today, Arthur, top producer. Thank you so much, as always, for being on the show.
Anytime. See you soon.
See you soon. And if you have any other questions for us, feel free to reach out to us, contact us on social media. We love to hear from you. And of course, we are AmericanDreamNetwork.tv. We'll be right back with more of the show.
You just heard from award-winning realtors about your marketplace. It's one thing to find your dream home. It's another thing to finance it. I've traveled the country to find the best mortgage experts in every city. You're going to hear from yours in a Mortgage Minute right now. Let's check it out.
Hey, it's Rick Scherer here with MSA Mortgage and one of the contributors on American Dream Boston, here with your Mortgage Minute. Today I wanted to talk about refinancing. With mortgage interest rates on the rise, a lot of people are getting off the fence and actually pulling the trigger on a mortgage refinance. You know, some of the top things that I'm seeing right now that people are doing is if you're currently in an adjustable rate mortgage and know that you're going to be in the property for longer than the mortgage arm is set for, people are looking to go and get that into a fixed rate. You know, one of the other things that happened with the tax plan that was just announced was home equity lines of credit no longer have any tax deductibility. So what people are also doing is looking to take your second mortgage and rolling that into your first mortgage so that you keep it all in a fixed rate and also tax deductible. One other tip is people with student loans. Did you know that you could actually refinance your mortgage and roll your student loans in to pay them off? Now what happens is when you do a cash out refinance, there's often times where it comes with a little bit higher of an interest rate. Now, if you're just rolling in that student loan debt, you actually don't get hit with the higher rate. So it's treated as a rate and term refinance. So anyway, there's a couple of tips, a couple of things that people are doing to get themselves ready for a raising rate environment. If you have any questions for me, please reach out. Rick Scherer, 617-778-0024. Thanks very much.
Thanks for tuning into The American Dream. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Hey, I want to remind you, not only do we want you watching the show every week with us, but don't forget you can follow us on social media as well. All that should be on the screen for you. Please engage in the conversation there. And don't forget, my #1 job is to be your consumer advocate. If you have questions, concerns, you need an introduction to one of the professionals you saw on the show, shoot me an email. I would be happy to connect the dots for you. That's all for today. Cheers to your American Dream, and we'll see you next time.